What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Card Hedge podcast. I'm your host, Omar, aka Retro Hoops. I got my man JD. What's happening, big dog?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Man, just doing some wheeling and dealing this week. Special shout out to you for hooking me up on that last little deal there.
Yep. That's what I do. I'm a deal maker. Some would say the Chuck Woolery of cards.
The Chuck Woolery of cards. Yeah. I can see that. That definitely works. So definitely next episode,
I'll wear a suit.
We'll have that pickup. Yeah, the suit and the little mic with the. We are dating ourselves.
Yeah. That's all right. It's all good.
Oh man! All right. Very excited about today. This is a good episode that we got lined up. Good guest that we got lined up. We've been trying to make the schedules work with our guest today, and we, as we all are, we're parents and working, and all this other jazz going on. So we finally made the schedules work. I'll go ahead and let you make the introduction, sir.
So common theme is I keep introducing all the guests, which is cool. But this next guest, I am super excited to have on. I'm going to give it away. Well, maybe I won't give it away, but she is someone who is extremely interesting in the hobby. I would say I follow her on Twitter. I love her tweets. I love her discussions. I love her insights. She's someone that I've learned quite a bit from just by kind of perusing like the tweets and the interactions with other people, especially my buddy, those back pages, pretty good stuff there. But she's got a pretty cool resume we're going to talk about. And currently, I believe, down at good old CSG. So without further ado, let's welcome in the Sooz.
Hey
there.
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I fell asleep on the couch before this, so I'm glad. I'm glad our schedules at least weren't aligning, and I'm glad I woke up. I'm glad that son, who generally keeps me away from things, jumped on me. So I was like,
there you go. Yeah, that for me, that's my daughter. She's the one that at 6 o'clock in the morning, opening your eyeballs, going, "Wake up! It's wake up time."
Yeah, yep.
I know exactly how that goes.
During baseball season, he fell in love with baseball this past year. He's only 6, but he fell in love with baseball. And during baseball season, every morning he'd come in the room and come up to me and be like, "Mommy, did the Yankees win?" And I'm like, I can't even get mad at this.
No. Big Yankees fan, yeah.
Talk about it.
There you go.
That's right. So I think let's start there. So you're a big time Yankees fan. Is that that's obviously where Yanks chicks come from.
Yeah.
So you're not like a ultra northerner. So. Where are you located up in the Northeast?
Yeah, I'm from New York. Yeah, I grew up in New York.
All right.
Lived here most of my life, then spent part of it in New Jersey when I was work for work.
Beautiful place.
Well, I'll say this: it was actually because I lived in South Jersey.
All right.
A very big difference between South Jersey and North Jersey. And my first apartment was 2 blocks from the beach, and I had a huge deck, and honestly, if I could move back there, I would. It was my favorite place to live.
Nice.
Simpler times.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, on the flip side, I'm probably a good 3 hours north of you in the heart of Red Sox Nation. So you and I, we can battle about that some other time. That'll go on for episodes. But I'm really excited. You decided to come on. Like I said before, you're someone that I've kind of been watching from afar, like on Twitter and things like that. And I've always found you to be pretty interesting and insightful. So I'm real happy we're going to get this opportunity to spend the next hour talking. So I'm pretty pumped. So thank you for that. So
thank you. I appreciate that. It's like on Twitter, hopefully Elon Musk doesn't break it to the point it goes away. It's me on social media, but it's like,
he's getting there.
Tweet something, and you never know if it's really going to resonate or anything. We're going to be interested. So it's been really cool to be able to have that aspect of the hobby because I get to connect with so many cool collectors, even if they're Red Sox fans. That's okay. Connect with so many cool collectors, and it's really been part of my favorite part of this journey in the hobby.
Yeah, I will say, since kind of being back in the hobby since very right at the start of 2020, social media, generally I'm not really a fan but it's got its uses in the hobby space for sure. You know, it's pretty cool to be able to talk to different people and chat with different people that you normally wouldn't chat with, especially without shows there for quite a while and things like that. And shows are tough, I feel, anyway, to kind of like meet and chat with people if you're trying to buy and sell, because you're like dialed into like what's going on at the table. And
you're in hustle mode.
Yeah, like, all right, man, like nice to meet you, but I'm trying to buy this card. Like,
Yeah.
let me focus.
That's tough too, because like I go to shows and like I know a lot of people. Like I've been working in this industry for a long time, so like I'll go and I'll talk to people lots of times as dealers. But you don't want to, as for me, I don't want to take up too much of their time either, because like, they are there trying to sell. So it's like cool to see them and connect, but it's not like I can sit there and have like any type of like lengthy conversation, because like they're there to work.
Right.
Sure. Yeah. So now let's kind of get like right into it. You've had a few stops along the way. I guess we'll start currently, right? You want to start currently and we'll work backwards.
Sure.
So you're currently at CSG, correct?
Yes.
All right. And what are you doing down there? What are you doing for those guys?
I am the marketing manager at CSG.
Nice.
And that's the sports cards grading division of Certified Collectibles Group. So, you know, some people might say like, oh, like who is CSG? Like maybe you heard of them. But if you know comics at all, like you know the Certified Collectibles Group, like they are the top comic grader in the country, CGC. If you know coins, you've heard of them. They're NGC. They're like one of the top coin graders in the world, not even the country, like in the world. So they do, and Certified Collectibles Groups pretty much like if it fits in a holder of some sort, like they'll grade it. It'll grade. So they do coins and paper money, stamps, like Pokemon cards, comics, video games, like you name it, and then like with more on the way as well. So, and I work in the sports card arm of that company.
And the sports card side, for I guess for those that don't know, is their newest division, right? Of all their
well, video games is the newest one. Video games only started within the last couple of months. But
all right, cool.
Yeah, CGC.
Video games, wow.
Yeah, CSG. It's only 2 years old. Like actually this week is its 2-year anniversary. So it's only 2 years old. And like to be honest, like, you know, a lot of I've been there 7 months. A lot of it happened before I got there, but I feel like they did an incredible job of like making a name for themselves in the card industry, right? Because it's been a big three for a very long time. And other companies have like, you know, got some buzz around them here and there, but like CSG was the first company in a long time that's actually been able to have the staying power.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I think, you know, when they first came on the scene, the slab, I wasn't necessarily thrilled with the flip color with the green,
the color scheme.
Yeah, but they, you know, they listened and they changed the label, and I think, you know, hands down, you know, Omar and I have said this time and time again, it is by far the best looking slab. If you haven't seen one in person, too great a card in. It's money.
Like, I agree.
There you go.
And one of the things I've always said, and this is something that I think originally, whenever
trying to get some upload,
when we were looking at slabs, I mean, just in terms of the slab itself, when you guys first started with your offerings, and then the green label, for me, the green label completely turned me off. So I had zero interest. And it wasn't until my brother, who runs the Collect 3D Prints, which makes the stands for all the slab companies, he called me over. He says, "Hey man, I know you don't like the labels, and I get that, but you have to come see this acrylic." And he called me over. He lives close by, and I walked over and I looked at the acrylic, and I was immediately sold. The acrylic is so nice. You guys' acrylic is so nice that I went into my collection looking for cards to grade with you guys that matched your label. So I, you know, obviously the Celtics, you know, I had to look for cards that I could send, because the acrylic is just by far, and this isn't just me saying this. I pretty much got general consensus on this.
Yeah.
You guys have the nicest acrylic out of all of the grading companies. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, it's just jeweled. It makes the cards look HD almost. And I just that was a big thing for me.
Yeah,
and it is. Continued it
because I work there. Like before I even started working there, like I did research, like where does CSG fit in this marketplace? What is the feedback from collectors? Like, and look, again, I'm on social media, I'm reading the message boards, I'm checking out YouTube videos, and that was the biggest thing was like. Yeah. CSG has his nicest looking slabs, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like that's something to work on. Like that's something to work with. Like, and because everybody agrees, so it's funny. So if I'm at a show and people are like, "What makes you different?" and I'm like, "Look, I get it. Like everybody grades like it probably fairly evenly across the board, right? With that happens. But what you're gonna get here, and I feel this like hard, like from my heart, where you're like, if for your PC, if you want to display this and you want to show off your PC, there's no better slot that you're gonna get than that.
Okay.
Agreed. Yeah,
I have two. I actually have two cards right up here on my like little display thing, and both of them are CSG. And I'll prove it just so people don't think that I'm.
I look. You see where my hand's going? Watch this.
So there you go. Field of Dreams.
Booyah, baby.
Yep.
Got my Elijah Wan graded up. And you're right, Sooz. I mean, for I think at the time you guys were offering the lowest price at the $15 mark for bulk sub during a time when everybody was in the 30s, $25, $30. And for me, a lot of this stuff, like that Elijah Wan, I mean, that's my guy. That card's going nowhere, right? And for me, grading it and getting it encapsulated, especially with how nice you guys' acrylic was, and then the recent label change just kind of opened it up for me in terms of aesthetic to be able to grade a bunch of other stuff, right? Not having to look through my collection for any Seattle Supersonics or Larry Bird stuff or Tatum stuff to match the label.
Yeah.
Once you guys went to that black label, it was a free for all at $15 especially, right?
I think it's like 12 now, right? Yeah.
Well, at the time, right? But at the time, everything was 30, $35. I think SGC, which at the time was 30, I think 30, $35 at the time. And I had a ton of stuff that I just wanted to get encapsulated. And when you guys switched that label, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Let's just run with it, right? Yeah.
So I was just gonna say, so as the marketing person, right? Like, what do you see as some of the hurdles to overcome in the coming years for CSG?
It's still that brand awareness, like just trying to get the name out there because, there's still lots of folks who are unaware of who CSG is. They know CGC, right? So the key has been, connecting the two. And, we've started to do that at shows where, we were at Burbank this past weekend and we were at the Culture Collision a couple weeks ago. And the key is, our booth is now set up so that you see it's like a CSG, CGC comics, CGC trading cards, and video games, and we accept all of those at shows now. So it's not like you go to a sports card show and CSG is there and you have comics you want to submit, like you can submit them. We've always accepted like Pokemon, right? Like that's easy. But now we accept all of the sort of like pop culture sports items at every show, and it's been really popular. Like you'd be surprised at how many sports shows people like. I brought comics just to drop off to you guys because comics are huge. So that's been really helpful for people to make that connection between the two.
Nice.
It's like Certified Collectibles Group, the main company, they've been grading items for 30 years. So it's like CSG is 2 years old, but like. Our parent is 30.
Who's the parent? What's the parent company?
Certified Collectibles Group, CCG.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they've been grading. Maybe is it? I don't know, my math is also really poor, but I think it's 1987 they started. So it's whatever that is. I'm older than them, but
that's about 42 years. No, 38 years, something like that.
Yeah, so they've been grading a long time. This company
we're gonna get all confused doing math now.
Oh yeah, dude, trust me.
My head just went So I mean, I think like for me, the biggest thing for me is resale, right? As far as you want to grade cards, and yes, there's certain cards you grade in that you're holding on to, and whether it's a $4 card, a $0 card, or a $1,000 card, right? But then many of us like to grade things, sell them to move into other things. The hard part for me so far, like you guys have a set registry, right? You have a very easy to use website. The Slab is tremendous.
Website's good.
Like, the price is tremendous. So there's like 4 out of 5 of the boxes are checked, right? For me, as someone who's working for them, right? What would you say to someone like myself as, all right, I get it, but you just told me 4 of the 5 things are checked for you. So how do you get me back, grading cards with you guys? Because I've hit the pause button for a little bit. And I'm like, I check out the website, I go back, I look at my set registry, which I love. I do love the set registry. How do you get someone like me who's like kind of on the fence of like, man, I do like everything. The one piece is like, if I do want to sell something, it's like, because I have had people say to me like, I don't even know who they are, and I'm like, really?
That's the key. So I'm a very big person on like control the controllables, right? So sure. I can control like the brand awareness. I can help build this company. And to me, I can't control resale. I can't control what the market is dictating. But what I can control is those aspects around it. So as I build the name of this company, as I grow the name and get more people to know who it is, and then I even highlight sales, because I'll say this, I have found that vintage resale has been a lot closer to where collectors, do a lot closer to being on the mark with like other companies. It's important to highlight those aspects and, like I said, control those aspects of it. I can't control what somebody wants to pay for.
Sure.
So while I hear that feedback, and believe me, like I understand that feedback, I can't control that. So I focus on controlling the things that I can control. And for me, if I keep working on those items for like the bigger picture, it will translate into other areas. And I think, like I said, I think it's already working in some aspects, because like I said, vintage wise, we've been seeing a really great resale. Like there was and like not just vintage, like pre-war cards as well. And we've been seeing really great numbers in pre-war and vintage. And I think that will maintain. And like modern is a place where there's a bigger gap. But that's something we'll work on. And I do think like some of these like partnerships we've recently launched is going to help with that as well. So just last week, I think it was last week, but we announced a partnership with ComC. So if in your port, if you want to grade a card, you can literally go to your cards in your ComC account and click a button that says grade my card, and it goes to CSG and we'll grade it and you'll get it back. And we already started the first submission, and we've actually been seeing like really like high, like some pretty nice high-end modern cards.
Yeah.
There was I want to say Fleer Retro, PMG, green PMG of like LeBron James. And this came through, graded a 9.
Wow.
Like it's a great card. We just had another one that hasn't even popped yet, but like, so I'm not going to mention it because like I don't want to But like another one that was like valued at like a $10,000 card, and it's like, it's like with these partnerships, like more and more people are going to be then taking a chance on that. So then my thing is like, okay, this is what we're working on. And I think we actually announced today that we actually have a deal with the PWCC Vault, that if you grade your cards with us on checkout, when you're going at the end, you're going through all the system, and it's like, okay, where do I want it shipped? There's literally
you can ship it right to your vault.
Ship it to my PWCC.
Oh,
vault.
wow.
Yeah. Cool. And then once you click on it, it like sends you to PWCC to just sign into your account. And like, it's like a seamless integration. And so I think these types of partnerships that we're doing is going to help with a lot of that. Because like I said, we're already seeing some really nice modern cards come in through some of these partnerships. But then here's my other thing I say. It's not just up to me. Like, yes, it is, because like we're But like as a seller, be patient. Like you want a certain price for a card, don't accept less for that. It's like if people then try to argue like, oh, there's CSG, but like, listen, there's a bazillion videos on YouTube of people who've cracked and crossed over and have gotten like the same grade, or like, it's like, this card is this grade and it shouldn't be different just because it's CSG.
Right. That's one of the things I've always said too is, I think I did a video on it, and at the time it was with SGC. But it applies the same to anybody not PSA, or to any company not PSA, is that like, if you have a card, and I think me and JD just had this conversation last night, right? About, because I'm trying to buy a card. There's no comps out there in the SGC 10, There was no comps at the time. Only thing was there was a PSA 10, and him and I were discussing, okay, percentage wise, how does that, what's a good market value for that, right? And if you set your card at a price and stick to it and just wait it out, I mean, like, somebody's going to offer you the money for that card. Obviously, a CSG 10 and a PSA SGC 10 and maybe even a BGS 95 aren't going to sell for what a PSA 10 is selling, but there is a reasonable market at which that price should be, and you shouldn't be selling anyway. Like, I mean, obviously, unless you need to liquidate. But that's a very good point that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Is like, find out what your price is and stick to your price. Otherwise, you're gonna dilute the value of everything, no matter what. At the end, if you're just taking pennies on the dollar, and it just hurts everybody else's collection, because of course everybody starts talking about comps, like, oh well, that sold for a third of what a PSA, so I'll offer you pennies for it. It's like, well, it's the same card at the end of the day.
Like, and honestly, like, these are your cards you're selling. Like, don't let people disrespect you. Like,
exactly.
So don't tell me my cards are worth pennies versus
right.
This is my
yeah. So now, Sooz, what do you collect baseball, basketball, where a little bit of everything? What do you collect? What do you collect?
I mean, my biggest collection is certainly baseball. But like, I also just collect whatever appeals to me, like whatever strikes my fancy, kind of thing. But I mean, I mostly 90% is probably baseball or Pokemon. Like, I don't collect the Pokemon, but there's a lot of Pokemon in the
Yeah. Now you said you have a son. Is he into Pokemon?
Oh yes.
Yeah, my son. So I have a 6-year-old son too, and he has recently become a fanatic with Pokemon. Every day when I pick him up from school, can we go to the store and get some Pokemon? I'm like, dude, I just dropped $80 on you like the other day. No, like go look at the ones you just got.
Our sons could be friends. Like, this sounds exactly the same conversations I have. He even loves the card shop so much. Yeah. One day it was raining, and I was like, I need to go buy a new umbrella. Our umbrella broke. And he's like, can we go to the card shop to buy an umbrella? I'm like, they don't sell umbrellas at the card shop.
My kids got really smart because they figured out that they do sell them at Target. And so anytime when you go, hey, can we go? Oh, you know what? You need eggs? They got eggs at Target.
They got eggs at Walmart. I mean, that's usually my answer to everything. So I'm like, oh, let's go to Target. We need socks or toothpaste.
Yeah. I took my son to his first card show last weekend, and it was classic. So I was like, all right, dude, we'll start with you. I know you want to look for Pokemon, so we'll go around. We'll look for some Pokemon. So he finds a couple. He kind of tried to work a deal with this guy. As a 6-year-old, I gave him like $20, and the guy cut him a deal, whatever. So then he's got like $4 left. We go to the next table. This is classic. There's like a Neymar autographed patch jersey card. And he's like, I want to get that, Dad. And I'm like, all right, why don't you ask that guy how much that card is? And the guy's like, yeah, $3,000. I'm like, he's like, oh, I have $3. And he's like, no, yeah. I'm like, yeah, buddy, that you need about 1,000 more of those.
A little short there.
Yeah. A little out of your league there, champ.
He couldn't comprehend why his $3 couldn't get him the Neymar. And it was hysterical. He was like, can you just buy it? I'm like, no, I don't. I didn't bring $3,000 with me. Like, sorry, dude. Yeah. Dad's got 3 other kids too. He's broke.
One of the first ever card shows I brought my son to was before the pandemic. So this was a long time ago. And he's, I guess, 3, which was a terrible idea, by the way.
Yeah.
But he got one of those like the Pokeball tins.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And these kid is just chucking it down the aisle, and he's like trying to Pokemon. I'm like, this is not good.
Terrible threes at a card show. I got anxiety just thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I love cards. My husband loves cards, so it's like, there's a card show. Like, it's not like we're gonna be like, okay, you stay home. I'm going to the card show.
Yeah.
How old are your kids, Sooz?
I only have one. He's 6.
6? Okay.
Yeah, we took him to the National this year though, and he had a ball. He absolutely loved the National. Like, he had such a good time.
Yeah. We're hoping to get out there this summer for the National with Card Hedge. So we're kind of plotting out places to stay and tables and booths are like few and far between. So we're trying to work a couple partnerships here of like, hey, hook us up with some corners, do something for us. But we'll see. I think that at least the three of us will be out there, which will be cool. Maybe we can catch up. But all right, so from there, right? We've talked CSG a little bit, and I think I agree with. Actually, I definitely agree with everything you said as far as, and I think that's an important piece too about that resale point of like, that's your card. So don't basically get bullied into selling it for less than what you want to take for it. Right.
Yeah.
I do think there is, that PSA high that people are on, and that's for now not going away. But I do think that there's enough. I kind of with Card Hedge and seeing all the data and the trends and everything, the area I'm always most interested in is what's going on down below PSA with SGC, CSG, BGS, HGA, whatever else, that kind of there. But, you guys, SGC, are kind of like battling back and forth as far as like, and that to me is very healthy for the hobby. Because it shows there's demand. It shows there's widespread acceptance in a couple of other grading companies that we all, well, at least we know. And what's very interesting is, and I hate to poo other companies, but you guys and SGC are basically like a 2-on-1 tag team match, kicking the crap out of BGS, which has been very like interesting because when I was a kid and everything else, BGS was like the
BGS
god
king, baby.
I agree with that.
And it's like this strange thing, right? So I'm like, all right, but hey, I guess it is what it is, right? But anyway, all right. So CSG, where were you before CSG? Because I know you had a stint at Tops. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's like we're not there yet. So,
all right.
Okay. So before CSG,
I was at Golden before CSG. So
nice.
A little over a year at Golden.
Nice.
What was the role there in Golden?
Marketing as well.
Okay.
A little different stuff, but I worked a lot on like emails and like kind of some of their content. Like I did some video content for them as well, but still like marketing as well.
Nice.
Was that pre or post PSA buyout?
During.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I'm always just curious as to like, because like big buyouts like that or big mergers like that, oftentimes sometimes I'd say most of the time there's a pretty big culture shift. Oftentimes with new folks coming in, I was curious about that.
I don't think that happened. I'll say this: when I got hired, it was actually during a very big like hiring push. So there was a lot of new people that came on board at the time. So there was a culture shift at the time, but collectors didn't come in still for several months. So other than that initial hiring spree that I was a part of, I would say not much necessarily changed in that regard, but there's definitely, I think, currently more of that happening.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, especially now since probably the bulk of that hiring push is now really in the mix and moving along. You don't really get much of that in the first 6 months or so. Everybody's just kind of new, trying to figure out where the bathrooms are and shit like that. And finally you get your and I'm speaking from experience here because I'm 3 months into my job, recent job change. So I'm still kind of very much in that realm of like finding out who's what, where to move and how to maneuver and all that stuff. So it gets really interesting. So before Golden, what was the role before Golden?
So before Golden, I was at a company called Culture Fly, not at all in the hobby. This was the Tops was before I had to take a break after Tops. I was there for quite some time and I needed sort of like a palate cleanser from like working in the hobby. Still loved cards. Did a lot while I was on Culture Fly regarding cards, but like I sort of needed, like I said, a break. And what they did at Culture Fly is I was a marketing manager there as well. And they did subscription boxes. Like it was a fully subscription box service of like different IPs, but popular IPs like The Office, Friends, Star Wars, like all this stuff. And I had known who they were because like I love Supernatural, the TV show. It is one of my favorite all-time shows. And they had a Supernatural box. And so like from day one, I had like subscribed to the Supernatural box. I still get the Supernatural box, so like I still subscribe to it. And then when I was looking for a job, I was like, I wonder if they're hiring. And
sure enough,
they were hiring a marketing manager, and so I got the job there.
So you just pick like different IPs, and they send you a box themed boxer that
well, yeah, I mean, as a customer, yeah, that's what so it depends on if they have the IP for it, right? So it's like My Hero Academia, like anime stuff.
Gotcha.
They have, it just depends on what they had, like JoJo Siwa, so for like stuff for kids. They had LOL Surprise, stuff with Build-A-Bear. So it just depends on like what partnerships that they have with companies. Yeah.
Nice. And then before that, Tops. So
and
Tops
then before that
was the biggest stint. What was your role or roles at Tops?
When I first started, I came in as a sports editor, and the bulk of that role was like picking the images that went onto cards. It involved other things, but that was like probably the most important part, like, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Picture, like, forget it. But I did that for less than a year when I actually moved over to marketing, and that's kind of where I got my start in marketing overall. Because like before that, I was a sports writer, I was a sports journalist. So then I went over to the marketing team because of my background in journalism. It lent well to things happening in marketing. So I was writing their press releases. I ran their social media accounts. Thank you, everybody, for asking me where your redemption was. Still don't know where it is. Constantly asking about it. So like I ran all their social, I did their PR, and essentially like any communications that would leave the building had to go through me. So I was their marketing communications manager for then 4 years. I was there for 5 years, and I did the sports editor job for about 10 months, and then the rest of the time I was the marketing communication manager.
So that's why you needed a break.
Yes.
I would imagine so.
What your redemption is. I'm sorry. Like.
Yeah. Well, and then oftentimes, because you're the face, right? At that point, or not necessarily you, but you're like the media platform, social media platforms, and all that stuff. If you're managing that, you're seeing all the what we call the client facing side of things, right?
It was tough. Like there were some really tough days. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like there were some like, and look, if you know anything about it, like you see social media, like people can be mean. Like, and then I know it's not personal. Like, because again, it's not like they're like, oh, Sooz is running this Tops account. Let me go. They didn't do that, but it was like, man, just you get beaten down, and it was really rough. Again, there were great days, there were some good days. I've met some fabulous people. Like it's not that, but it was like, yeah, I needed a break a little bit because it got a little rough out there.
A little interesting. I'm curious on your take of this whole Fanatics situation with Tops being bought out, and then Fanatics buying up subsequently all the IP or all the licensings and all that stuff. How do you think? Are you pretty positive on the outlook with Fanatics, or you got some concerns, or what are your overall thoughts there?
I'm trying to think how to word this. No, not in bed, but like it is what it is, right? Like I don't have a choice in the matter of what is happening. So
right.
I've accepted it. But I'll go back to something JD was saying earlier, where like you have these grading companies who compete against each other and they push each other, right, to do different things. And for me, I've always felt this way, that competition is always going to be better for the consumer. So I don't necessarily have any faults with like problems with Fanatics itself. I didn't have obviously I worked for Tops. I didn't have any problems with Tops in itself. Right. Panini was a competitor time. I didn't have any problems with Panini in themselves. Like I'm a friendly competitor too. Like I made lots of friends at Panini and Upper Deck. Like I'm still friendly with a lot of people over at these places. Yeah. Even though I had worked for Tops. But like competition helps push you, like other companies helps you push forward, and like how can we be better? How can we be better for the consumer? Like what is going to make the consumer, and I hate saying the word consumer, but like whatever, because
but it's true. That's
in this space it's collective. How can we make the consumer choose us over them? But if you're the only choice, it's like at what point do you know if you're not pushing yourself enough? It's like that kind of stuff. So it's like you constantly have to have like internal, like, and you have to constantly look at yourself internally to make sure like we're doing the right thing by our collectors. But how do you know if you're the only one? I guess is the best way to put it. Because it's like if you're the only game in town, guess what? Like I have a problem. Like I legit have a cardboard problem. That was the name of my first blog. It was called The Cardboard Problem, because like I love cards. I'm always going to buy these cards. Right. But how do I know like if I wouldn't want to buy something else? Right. I love Upper Deck Baseball. I wish Upper Deck Baseball was still around.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of like especially for me, I'm big basketball guy. So like you're 90% baseball, I'm 90% basketball. But for the last 10 years or 11 years, Panini's been the only game in town when it comes to basketball.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm very excited for is to see some basketball, some Topps basketball.
Topps Chrome, right? Topps Chrome basketball.
Dude, man, Topps Chrome, the first year of Topps Chrome basketball, I am going to spend so much money.
Yes, of course you are.
I'm just like,
I'm going to do that too. Like, we're all going to do that.
But to your point, Sooz, is how dope would it be if that license Upper Deck had it and Panini still had it, and now Fanatics has it with Topps and all this. Like, to have NBA hoops and Topps Chrome and Upper Deck, like that would everybody.
And Upper Deck owns all the Fleer and Skybox and everything. So like all those
Michael Jordan's autographs, LeBron's autographs, right? Those are all owned by Upper Deck. So
I don't even necessarily care about like the autographs. It's more of, you know, if you look at the 90s where there was all these different companies and there, you know, these companies were innovating like madmen and women to create new designs and inserts, and they were pushing the edge of like what collectors would want, right? Some of it flopped, some of it caught on later on, and some of it was an instant hit.
Yeah.
But if it was just Topps, you
get nothing.
What's them to say that you wouldn't just have 88 Topps, 89 Topps? You know what
if there was no competition, there wouldn't have been a Topps Stadium Club. There wouldn't be right. Topps wouldn't have no incentive to like push the envelope, right? Upper Deck wouldn't have no incentive to push. You know, at the time, Fleer was a standalone product, but you know, none of those companies would have been pressured to do anything. Complacency will set in very quickly when you're the only game in town.
I agree with you, Sooz. I mean, that's the one thing I think that worries me is, you know, print runs are already high, and some of the things I've heard, you know, on different podcasts with Michael Rubin, you know, he's talking about kind of like in your area, like marketing and really marketing cards, getting it out on like, you know, commercials and this and that, pretty much making it like, you know, in your kitchen, like when you're cooking dinner type stuff. And
show, right?
Yeah. And it's like, then do you say to yourself, all right, well, what does that mean? Does that mean the printer machines are going back to, you know, 1992? There's already, I feel, too many, especially in the modern cards. There's just too many parallels. There's too many rookie cards. There's a rookie card logo on everything. It's like it's too much. Like, so I don't even bother. Like, for me personally, like I don't really bother with like modern cards because it gets confusing and annoying, because like, all right, you look at this card and you're like, wow, this is a cool card, but then it's like, yeah, but that's like the yellow sparkle reverse shimmer.
Yeah, the reverse dragon head.
Yeah, you want the yellow zebra, and it's like, what? What are you talking about? So that's, I worry about that myself, which I guess is why I kind of stick to the 90s and that way. It's easier for me. But I want to go
when 90s were the best era in cards.
Hands down, the most beautiful cards. Like, you know, I just picked up like a cheap hockey lot of 90s stuff, and I mean, just like the, you know, nothing crazy, but I mean, you're talking like cool
actual
stuff,
designs,
like you know, the little die cut stuff going on and whatever, and it's just, to me, it's the best era. You know, that's when I was, you know, hitting my teenage years and whatnot, and you know, kind of reliving that, which is cool. But like, you know, I want to go back to something you said earlier, because I really think it's important when we're talking about like the resale stuff, and you were talking about vintage and how those prices, you know, you guys are kind of watching that, and it's, you know, solid sales. I don't think that gets enough credit where values of cards are, you know, at or looked at or viewed, because those cards aren't necessarily easy to grade, you know, and when people are sending in those cards to a company like CSG that's just about 2 years old, that says something, you know, that says something, that people trust you. You know, obviously they brought the two guys over from Beckett, which helps. but there's that known consistency and credibility already built in because of those two guys, which I thought was a genius move when they started that division. But from there, when you see that stuff happening and you see the grades and you see those vintage guys going, yeah, that's that's what I feel it should have got. And not that everybody can grade a card, right? Everybody's an expert.
Yeah.
But when you see that stuff, to me, that is speaks more than what does a 2020 Prism whatever is selling for versus the PSA. Because to me, if the Mickey Mantle or the Hank Aaron is selling for similar to the SGC and similar to the PSA,
that says more to you than anything else, right?
Yes.
Why do you think, Sooz, that you guys have seen that growth in secondary market sales in vintage?
I do actually think it has a lot to do with Andy Broome, who is our senior grader finalizer. His title is always, but he's also VP of CSG. So he came over from Beckett, and he was their head vintage grader, and he has a background that is honestly there's not many people who could say they have his knowledge and his expertise when it comes to trading cards, and his expertise is in vintage and pre-war. And he's been grading for almost 25 years. I think next year would be his 25th year he's been grading cards.
It's crazy.
He's seen it all.
It is. And look, I've been collecting cards a long time. I've been working in cards for a long time, and literally 2-3 months into the job, I've learned something completely new about cards. And I was blown away. I was like, wait, what? And not just any card, because this is going to sound silly, because I'm not a huge vintage collector, and I understand there's plenty of people who knew this, but when we had graded that Mickey Mantle CSG 8, they did a whole video discussing the difference between a Type 1 and a Type 2 of the 1952 Mantle. And I'm like, how is it that I've been collecting for this long and I had no idea?
No clue.
And it was just to me, it's that knowledge, and what I love, and this is what we've been working on, that knowledge isn't going to stay in Andy's head. The plan is to get it out there, because on top of being yes, we're graders and we're gonna have this, and then we have this knowledge of cards, it does us no good being the only ones with this knowledge.
Right.
And it may sound silly, well, then you're giving away secrets. We're not giving away any secrets. What we're doing is we're making more knowledgeable and educated collectors.
Exactly.
And I actually think that's even more helpful, and I think that's something that has been helpful, is because we're also willing to say this is how we do it. This is how we grade. And Andy has this knowledge, and they go to card shows and talk to collectors and sit there and be like, hey, let me check out your card. And he's like, oh, maybe it was a counterfeit, but here's why, and explains it to you, and it's it isn't just you get a piece of paper in the mail. I mean, you might, but it's sorry, it's not real. Too bad.
Right.
Take the time and explain it to you. And this actually happened with me, personally. I don't know. I don't think I was working for Beckett anymore at the time. So it was probably, P.S. before Topps was at Beckett.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Dang, girl, you got a resume.
I've worked at a lot of companies. So I guess it was right after I left Beckett, and I had bought a Mariano Rivera Bowman rookie card, right? His 1992 Bowman rookie card, where he's in that goofy street outfit.
Yeah. Classic card, by the way. Yeah. Classic card.
Bought a run off of eBay. Go to a local show that I knew Beckett was going to be at, and I go and I'm like, oh, check out this card I bought. And literally, Andy takes it in his hand. He's like, fake. I was like, didn't even. He was like, just didn't even look at it. He's like, it's fake. And I'm like, what do you mean it's fake? So then he sat there and explained it to me. He's like, look, you can feel by the paper, and he's just explained to me how it's not as bendable as it should be. That's the card.
Look at that.
It's not as bendable. He explained the whole thing for me, and I was like, how about that? It was an education for me. And these are the types of things we're providing to collectors on now a much bigger. It's not just for me. I'm not getting a private education on cards. We're giving that to others.
Right.
And with his knowledge and expertise, and he's been around for a very long time, a lot of vintage collectors and pre-war collectors recognize that and appreciate that. So I think that he has a huge part of the reason why CSG has been able to, jump into that space.
So people know that, hey, this was blessed by that man. So, the knowledge base is there. That's good. Yeah.
Which to me too, for people listening and whatnot, if you can grade a pre-war card and know exactly what it is and how to label it correctly and what parallel it potentially could be, those things are not easy.
Yeah.
And to be able to recognize that stuff and whatever, like the number's cool and all, like whatever it gets as a grade, but to be able to accurately identify some of the pre-war stuff that's out there,
especially if it's highly counterfeit, right?
You're a different animal, like that stuff is tough.
Yeah. And the other difference, I want to point this out too, is like our team is actually also willing to do the research. Like, let's say we do get a card that like, maybe they're like, oh, I'm not sure about this. They will do the work. And that has actually been, I've seen that with a lot of like soccer vintage collectors who have like the wrestling collecting community loves us. So I want to give them a shout out because like we will do the work to make sure it's like the card is what it is. And sometimes like, okay, like maybe it takes a little longer for it to get back to you, but it's because we're doing the due diligence of the work and the research to ensure that card is what it is. So if like you want to get a card graded and you're not sure, like, maybe another company, what happens, like other companies have turned you down because they just don't have the knowledge. Like we'll do it because we'll work on it. We'll work and educating ourselves and finding people who do have that knowledge to help out as well.
That's awesome. That's all stuff. Like I think you're on the, you don't need me to tell you this, but you're on the right track. Like I think that's really smart, getting that stuff out there to the public. Because again, if you think back to when, I'll date my age, but like if you think back to when in the early 90s, right? Late 80s, early 90s, the Beckett magazine was also a teaching tool. Mm-hmm. You would read the articles, you would study it, you would do this, you would do that, and then you'd have things to look for when you went to that card show as a kid with your freaking allowance money or the card shop or whatever. Yeah. And you were able to like look at these things and learn and hear the stories and whatnot. And now you have the internet where, a couple clicks here and there, you can hop on YouTube, you can Google search. Before you know it, you've got all this stuff. Some of it's credible, some of it's not credible. Mm-hmm. People don't realize how to do like and again, I'm not going to get into it, but like a legit web search to find valid sources of information. There's all kinds of things out there. I could create a blog right now on, I don't know, 1947 Topps cards or Bowman cards or something, right? Whatever. And tell whatever I want, and Omar can go read it and go, oh yeah, this is the truth. And it's
fake news,
so it's like, I think that's really cool. And it's a really
lending
cool
the credibility is the big thing, right? Is having those folks that are the pillars of what you guys are doing to like, manage and hand down that information. And to your point, Sooz, right? It's collectors being educated to be able to make better decisions and feel better about what they're doing and buying and feel more confident about the money that they're spending on certain cards, knowing, oh, I know what to look for, I know what to not look for, and make sure it has this and doesn't have that, and feel good about the money I'm spending.
Now let me ask you this question. This is kind of this is like a weirder question or whatnot, and it may not appeal to everybody, but it's always something I'm curious about. Because the CSG division is newer, your experience in the hobby over the years and writing and clearly CSG has paid attention to technology with their website design and everything. Where do you see technology's role in the hobby moving forward?
It's a great question, and it's something I've thought a lot about. And I remember, so like every Wednesday I do this card chat on Twitter.
Yep.
Just ask like 6 questions related on a specific topic.
Yep.
And one year,
love those, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And it was one time I asked about technology, and it was like the biggest dud of card chats I've ever had. And I was like, really? I was like, surprised, because I'm like, man, technology, like this space is gonna be filled with technology. So that's why I was like, I'm fascinated by it. So I really enjoy seeing like new things pop up that feature like technological advances in this space.
Yep.
Being AI for like helping with like identification, and that's something CSG does use. We use AI imagery to help with identification of cards.
Really?
So, yeah. yeah, I think maybe they'll talk about it eventually. So
Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news on the Card Hedge podcast, baby.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
Moving on up, JD.
After this goes live, I'll let you know if I'm still working.
Yeah. It goes live. These go live on set. Yeah, you got time. So
we got a little time. You gotta let me know if if I gotta pull anything out. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
We're moving on up, JD. We're getting exclusives, baby.
Yeah.
But even so, like even now, like honestly, like CSG is actually like implementing their backend systems, which like to you it's gonna not do anything, but like to us it's gonna make everything move faster.
Yep.
So it's like it's kind of cool. Like I can't get those stuff. I can't go into details of, but like it's kind of cool. Like they're able to take these technologies and use that high res. I know it sounds goofy, but like high res images. CSG from day one has offered high res images of every single one of its cards ever.
Yep.
So like you look up a cert number, there's going to be a high res image of the front and back of that. And I know, but it's like it's like the technology is used. Like they literally just put it in machines, like boom, image, boom, image, and it's like it's crazy how fast it goes.
Yeah.
So they're able to do stuff like that. They have machines that allow them to like essentially authenticate a card. A lot of times it's for vintage and pre-war cards, but it's able to like test the paper. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like crazy things like that.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
People don't see because like look, it's private, it's proprietary information. Like we don't want everybody to know exactly like machines and things we're using. It's not a secret in that sense, like that we have them.
Right.
But it's like those things are cool. And then as a collector, it's having these sort of like apps and things that can tell me essentially what a card's value is.
Right.
I love them. I utilize them, but it comes with sort of like a double-edged sword in a sense where it's like, okay, I see that this is telling me it's worth X amount of money.
Yeah.
So I don't want to pay this person's price because they're asking for too much. But are they asking for too much? Like,
right. Yeah.
The program is telling me it's worth this much. Am I asking for too much money? So there's been times where I definitely paid more than like what something has told me the value is.
Sure.
It's like one, I never see this card, and two, I want it.
Yep.
So I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't pay. They don't pay much attention to that. That's a very important point. I was just watching Chasing Cardboard with Ty from Bench Clear. I absolutely love that show. I talk about it all the time. And he was negotiating for an autographed Luka, and the guy was asking just slightly above like the last comp. And one of the things that he said and he was very adamant about it, but it made absolute sense. He says, "I'm not paying over comps in this market." Right. And so, because obviously the market's down, right? I mean, every other sale is, if the market continues to do what it's doing, the next sale is always going to be a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower. That's the reason why we're in a down market. But, he was like, I'm not paying over the last comp in this market. But had that been 18 months ago, he might have never been able to get it at comp. Like comp is the baseline, right? That's just that's what the last sale was, and that's the market for that card. Depending on market conditions is going to determine what the value of that card is, right? Because that card is the next card on the list. It's not that sale hasn't taken place yet and established a new line in the sand yet. And the market conditions is gonna determine that. And I don't think people talk about that.
The seller should be patient and take what he wants for it. Don't disrespect my card.
Exactly. No, it's I think like we've talked about that. I've talked about it on my own channel. Like, at what point, when everybody says the market's going down, the market's going down, the market's going down, at what point does a seller say, "I'm tired of it going down. If the last sale was $10, I'm taking $10."
It's a big game of chicken.
To me, like I look at it like that, as like I'm not going to accept $9. I want $10. And if you want that card, eventually you'll give me $10 for it.
I'm so old school where I'm like, I'm gonna pay what I feel comfortable paying for it.
Yep.
So like,
and it all depends on why you want to buy the card, right? Like, why am I buying this card? Am I buying it because I love this guy and this is my PC, or am I buying it because I'm hoping it goes up based on whatever parameters I have in my head? And I think that's going to determine how much flexibility I'm willing to move on, right? Am I willing to overpay a little bit because it's a sentimental card? I mean, I overpay on Elijah stuff all the time.
Yeah, I do with Garnett. I overpay all the time.
Whatever. I got something actually like for really good price the other day. Like I got it for way under what probably it should have went for, and not because like I was the person who was like, how about this? I'm like, yep, I'll take it.
Yeah, sold.
Yeah, but it's like it's actually one of those things where I actually won't probably like ever not like currently like reveal the price, because I think it would bring down the market
of that card.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yep. I do that too.
So I'm just gonna keep it to myself, because then you know what? The other part too is like next time maybe they'll still reach out to me and be like, hey, I got this cool card. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Like, I sure do.
Yep.